All right. Welcome back to Conception Mechanism. We're trying out the live feature on YouTube. It's my first time trying it. So it's going to be a little bit more um, maybe how it'll feel if I'm doing something specific long term. We're kind of testing it out for the first time. So we'll see how it goes. Um, it's going to be a short one just to review some of my notes on what I expect my release schedule to be for Conception Mechanism. So, and it certainly might change as time goes on, because I don't know. Uh, as I mentioned in the first episode, just things change so quickly, and my life is so busy. It feels like so. This might be completely different than than what we review today, but I also want to yeah, I'm kind of using this time as testing with my camera. I'm using this old Canon Rebel T5. Um, so I don't even know if it's going to work. It seems like my focus is a big Yeah, I need to adjust my focus to see if that will help with the quality. Live testing as we go. So that you also don't have to deal with looking at me out of focus while I go through everything. So kind of live testing here. I'm on autofocus. Can we please? That seems a little better. That seems better to me. All right. Okay. So for me, again, like we talked about first, in the first episode, structure is going to be helpful, at least for my process. So understanding and being able to keep myself accountable as far as a release schedule is going to be super helpful. So I've got a small list of things that I've already included in the description of this video. Um, and again, things might change maybe frequently, but this is at least the first kind of draft of a release schedule that I wanted to put together and I found interesting. So, the first video after this, okay, again, this is the hope. The first video after this, I want to write a piece of music for everyone. Okay. In this piece, I'm expecting it to take, approximately 30 minutes. It might be longer than that. It probably will not be shorter than that. So it'll probably be another live session to some degree. Um, I kind of want to dive into and explain everything going on in my process as it's happening. Excuse me. The second episode of actual content, I'm going to dive into mastering in my 10th album. I just released my ninth, like 6 months ago, something like that, maybe more. So I'm still needing to do quite a bit of I don't think I've even touched the mastering portion of, and really probably some mixing in my 10th project. So I'd like to dive into that. Probably not super long, probably less than 20 minutes, just to um, maybe showing a couple of songs, like how my process works for mastering those. The third episode, I'd like to discuss. I have a discussion with a Mary's quilt artist. So I haven't quite figured out who I want to speak to yet. Not that I don't want to speak to everyone. Certainly I do. It's more like, who specifically am I like, okay, who am I going to ask to speak with me for a little while? Typically, that type of discussion will be similar to, I referenced our old Conception Mechanism podcast that we did, that me and Cody Rosebrook did, where we interviewed Tim Cherrick. So it'll be similar to that. It probably won't be as long. That's a pretty long kind of episode. I think we talked for like 45 minutes. It's a long episode. So anyways, it'll probably be shorter than that, but I like to get a maybe deep dive a little bit into um if they're willing to talk about their artistic process and like maybe who they look to for reference and um, artists that are notable in their style and like people they look up to and their peers and everything. So um, as much as they want to share, I don't want to um, uh, go too far into artist process because similar to myself, this is new to me, kind of explaining myself and having to like, oh, here's how things work. So I get where some might be like, okay, hold on, like that's kind of an intrusive question about my my artistic process. Um, okay, great. Uh, the fourth one, I want to practice live performance. I'm so sorry, the exposure is changing. The sun just kind of started coming out a little bit, so it's changing a little bit. Yeah, the fourth episode, I want to do practicing live performance. For those of you who have talked to me before, that's something that I've done very little of. I've only performed twice in front of people, and both of those are Mary's Quilt events that me and the rest of our Mary's Quilt team put together. So it's not really like kind of me playing live a little bit, but not as much of um like an actual live performance, like going to a venue and actually playing in front of people that I don't know. Um, so that's something I've needed to practice for a long time is knowing how to play live, having my music prepared to and memorized. Um, you'll see as we dive into my writing process that I'm writing things on the fly. So it's like I have to revisit things, relearn how to play things, and that'll be something that we talk about in the fourth episode. Um, the fifth episode will probably be more mastering, again, because I want to have an elevated schedule. Probably won't be a longer episode. Will just be me going through that process again and hopefully trying to finish the mastering for number 10. Um, okay, number 6, the 6th episode, writing another piece, but maybe less of the step-by-step process and more of a giving you all a visual as far as how the process actually looks to see me write a piece. And maybe I'll do some side commentary a little bit as I'm doing it, but it will be less of like a, hey, here's a step by step of how I might do something. So that might give some different insight as to like, okay, here's the actual time it takes Harley to write something. That might differ from others. um, the 7th episode, I want to go live on YouTube to do a live performance. Um, Hopefully, I'll have something prepared by then so that I don't, so that it's not just um, the hope is by then I'm able to be comfortably playing something live and have stuff prepared. So that's my hope for the 7th. And the 8th is another discussion with an independent artist. It doesn't have to be on Mary's Quilt. I'd like to actually expand to people outside of Mary's Quilt as well, just to see, like, just to get other people's perspective on, how they think of Mary's Quilt. Are they on any, groups or artist collectives or labels or anything? And if not, how does their process work? Like again, those types of conversations. So far, that is what I have on my content schedule. So roughly 8 weeks worth of content. It won't be that. I promise. I can promise because even between the first episode of me saying, "Hey, here's what this YouTube series is going to be about," it's already been a couple of weeks since I released that, and now we're here to the content sort of one. So, yeah, I'm already not meeting my my schedule here, but it's still pushing me to get things out there and continue working on stuff. So, anyways, as we continue on this process, I'm excited. To have you all join me. It'll be interesting to be making commentary on processes that I've internalized. for close to 10 years now. So that'll be really interesting. Um, so I'm excited to have you all join me as I continue to dive into the weird world of my brain and um, the weird way that I do things in music and art. So, all right. I'm excited to have you all. Talk to you next week. Thanks for joining.